The Kralix had ruled the Galactic Council for 3 centuries, and for good reason. Standing 9 feet tall with chitinous armor that could deflect plasma bolts, razor-sharp claws that could slice through reinforced steel, and a bite force that could crush starship hulls, they were the undisputed apex predators of known space. Their very presence in a room was enough to make most species' primitive fear responses kick in, an involuntary acknowledgement of their position at the top of the galactic food chain. Captain Vextar flexed his mandibles in satisfaction as he reviewed the latest tribute reports from his command thrown aboard the dreadnought Bone Crusher. The holographic displays showed cargo manifests from dozens of worlds, rare minerals from the Zephyrian mines, exotic foods from the Tenthari agriculture worlds, advanced technology from the Vorthan research stations. Every species in the galaxy knew their place beneath the Kralix. It was the natural order, established not through politics or economics, but through the simple biological reality that the Kralix were superior predators. They came from Kethmor, a world that had forged them in the fires of constant warfare. It was a planet of perpetual storms where acid rain could strip flesh from bone, where the very air was thick with toxic spores, and where creatures that would make other species' nightmares seem pleasant roamed freely. The Kralix hadn't just survived this hellscape. They had thrived in it, becoming the apex predators of the most dangerous world ever discovered. For 3,000 years of space exploration, Kethmor had remained unique. Every other world the Kralix encountered was soft, inhabited by weak creatures that had never faced real predation. Garden worlds where herbivores grazed peacefully under gentle suns. Ocean worlds where primitive fish swam in warm, clean seas. Desert worlds where the greatest danger was mild dehydration. The galaxy, it seemed, was full of prey species who had never learned to truly fight for survival. Sir, his aide Zekti, approached with the nervous clicking that indicated important news. The younger Kralix's carapace was still bright with youth, unmarked by the ritual scars that decorated Vextar's battle-worn armor. We've received a transmission from the Outer Rim. A new species has been discovered. Vextar's 4 compound eyes focused on the datapad with the predatory intensity that had made him one of the most feared ship commanders in the fleet. Another prey species, I assume? Herbivores from some garden world who've finally developed basic radio technology. That's uncertain, sir. They call themselves humans and claim to represent something called the Terran Federation. They're requesting an audience with the Council. Let me guess, they want to surrender preemptively and offer tribute? Vextar chittered with amusement, the sound echoing through his throat sacs like grinding stone. How refreshingly efficient. Most species at least pretend to negotiate before accepting their proper place in the hierarchy. Sir, there's something else. They mention their homeworld. They call it Earth. According to their data packet, it appears to be... Yes. Vextar's claws extended slightly, an unconscious response to the hesitation in his aide's voice. Another death world, sir. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of the ship's engines and the distant sound of the atmospheric recyclers. Even the normal chatter from the crew stations ceased as every Kralix within hearing distance processed this impossible statement. Vextar's claws slowly extended to their full length, scraping against the metal arms of his command chair with a sound like grinding glass. Impossible. Kethmor is the only death world capable of producing sapient life. Our xenobiologists have confirmed this repeatedly. Run the data again. Zekti's claws trembled as he manipulated the holographic display, his nervousness evident in the way his mandibles clicked together. Sir, according to their planetary data, gravity 1.2 times galactic standard, atmospheric composition includes a highly corrosive gas they call oxygen at concentrations that would be lethal to most species, seasonal temperature variations of up to 80 degrees, frequent seismic activity, active volcanic systems, and they list over 8 million different species on their world, sir. Many of them appear to be active predators, large predators. Some of them are described as megafauna. Vextar stood slowly, his full height casting a shadow over the bridge crew. The motion was fluid despite his size, a reminder that the Kralix were built for both power and speed. Show me their biological data. The holographic display shifted to show anatomical diagrams and environmental readings. Vextar studied them with the keen eye of a predator evaluating potential prey or potential threats. What he saw made his blood run cold. These readings, he began, then stopped. Are they claiming their world is more dangerous than Kethmore? Sir, according to their data, their world experiences regular mass extinction events. Ice ages lasting thousands of years. Asteroid impacts. Supervolcanic eruptions. They've survived multiple planetary catastrophes that would have sterilized most worlds. The implications hit Vextar like a physical blow. The Kralix had always assumed they were unique because they were the only species tough enough to evolve on a death world. But if these humans were telling the truth, "Prepare my personal ship," he ordered, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "I will see these humans myself. Sir, perhaps we should send scouts first. Gather more intelligence before."
No.
Vextar's voice cut through the suggestion like a blade. If there truly is another Deathworld species, they need to understand who rules this galaxy. They need to see that the Kralix are the apex predators of known space. His claws gleamed under the bridge lights as he flexed them. And if they're lying about their capabilities, the predatory smile that spread across his features would have terrified most species. Well, I haven't had a proper hunt in some time. The human ship was smaller than expected. As Vextar's dreadnought Bone Crusher approached the diplomatic rendezvous point at the edge of neutral space, he studied the alien vessel with growing confusion and mounting unease. The human ship was sleek, certainly, with lines that spoke of advanced engineering, but it was barely a tenth the size of his flagship. Where were the massive weapons arrays that should bristle from every surface? Where was the intimidating armor plating designed to strike fear into enemies? Where were the ceremonial spikes and predator motifs that marked a true warship? This looked more like a courier vessel than the flagship of a Deathworld species. Yet, according to his sensors, it had traveled here from the outer rim at speeds that should have been impossible for a ship of its size. The energy readings were unusual. Not threatening exactly, but definitely not following any known engineering principles. "Sir," his sensor officer called out, mandibles clicking with confusion, "I'm detecting some unusual readings from their vessel. Their power signature doesn't match their apparent size class. Elaborate. It's generating approximately 10 times the energy output we'd expect from a ship that size, but it's not showing up as weapons or shields. I can't identify what they're using it for." Vextar filed that information away for later consideration. Perhaps these humans were more advanced than their modest ship suggested. "Incoming transmission, sir," reported his communications officer, a young female whose carapace still bore the bright sheen of recent molting. On screen, full tactical analysis of their transmission protocols. The hologram that materialized in the center of the bridge showed a creature that defied every one of Vextar's expectations about Deathworld evolution. The human was small, perhaps 6 feet tall, less than 2/3 the height of even the smallest adult Kralix. It had no visible natural weapons. No claws, no fangs, no defensive spines or armor plating. Its skin looked impossibly soft, almost translucent in places, with no sign of the thick protective layers that any sensible evolution would provide. Most disturbing of all, it had only 2 eyes, a critical vulnerability that would make it easy prey for any competent predator. When it spoke, its voice was calm, almost musical, with none of the growling undertones that marked a true predator's communication. "Greetings, Captain Vextar. I am Ambassador Sarah Chun of the Terran Federation. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. I hope our 2 species can establish a foundation for mutual understanding and cooperation." Vextar leaned forward in his command throne, his massive frame creating an imposing silhouette against the backdrop of his ship's weapon displays. He let his claws extend slightly, a subtle threat display that had cowed countless species over the years. "You claim to be from a death world, human. Yet you appear." He paused, studying the creature's impossibly fragile-looking form. "Soft." Ambassador Chun smiled, an expression that revealed small, flat teeth clearly designed for grinding plant matter rather than tearing flesh. There wasn't a single pointed canine in sight. Appearances can be deceiving, Captain. I understand the Kralix have been the dominant military force in this region for quite some time. Your reputation for strength and honor precedes you. The diplomatic phrasing was noted, but Vextar dismissed it as the usual placating language of prey species. We are the apex predators of the galaxy, he stated matter-of-factly, allowing pride to color his voice. No world has produced warriors to match those of Kethmore. We have ruled the Council for 3 centuries because we are the only species evolved enough to handle true leadership. I see, Chen replied, and something in her tone made Vextar's predatory instincts twitch with unease. Tell me, Captain, what's the most dangerous creature on your homeworld? The question surprised him, but Vextar's chest swelled with pride as he answered. The Bone Render, 12 feet of pure muscle and teeth, capable of crushing a fully armored Kralix warrior in its jaws. They hunt in coordinated packs and possess intelligence approaching sapience. They have never been successfully tamed, and killing one in single combat is the mark of a true Kralix warrior. Fascinating, Chen said, and her tone carried what sounded almost like genuine interest. On Earth, we have creatures called wolves, pack hunters, very dangerous. With similar intelligence and coordination, we domesticated them approximately 30,000 years ago. We call them dogs now, and they live in our homes as companions and working partners. The bridge fell absolutely silent. Even the usual background hum of conversation from the crew stations ceased. Vextar felt his claws unconsciously extend to their full length, scraping against the metal arms of his throne. You're saying you tamed your apex predators? His voice carried a note of disbelief that he couldn't quite suppress. Oh, wolves weren't apex predators on Earth, Chan said with casual dismissal that made every Kralix on the bridge freeze. We were. We've always been. Captain, what's the most dangerous environmental hazard on your world besides the Kralix themselves? Vextar's throat sacs contracted as he processed this impossible claim. The acid storms. They sweep across the continents without warning, carrying concentrated toxins that can strip flesh from bone in minutes. No shelter can withstand them completely, and they're one of the primary causes of death on Kethmore. Interesting, Chen mused. We have similar weather patterns on Earth. We call them rain, and our children play in them. Many humans find the sound quite relaxing. She paused, and her smile took on a quality that made Vextar's predatory instincts scream warnings. Captain, I think there's been a fundamental misunderstanding about the nature of Deathworlders. You're telling me, Vextar said slowly, his translator struggling with the concept, that humans routinely consume ethanol, a substance that would kill most sapient species, for recreation? Ambassador Chen nodded. We call it alcohol. Yes, it's quite popular at social gatherings. And this caffeine you mentioned? A mild stimulant. We drink it every morning. Children aren't allowed to have it because it makes them hyperactive. Vextar's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. On Kethmore, caffeine is used in our most potent military stimulants. A dose of what you call coffee would send a Kralix warrior into a berserker rage. Interesting, Chen mused. What about physical conditioning? How do Kralix maintain their strength? We train in combat pits against captured bone renders. The survival rate is approximately 60%. Humans have something similar. We call it CrossFit, though the survival rate is much higher. We also have marathons, endurance events where we run 26 miles for fun. For fun. Oh yes, hundreds of thousands participate. We also have something called ultramarathons. Some humans run for 24 hours straight just to see if they can. Vextar was quiet for a long moment. Ambassador Chan, I'm beginning to suspect that Kralix and humans may have different definitions of Deathworld. Captain, may I ask about your species' relationship with pain? Pain is weakness leaving the body. Young Kralix are taught to endure great suffering to become warriors. We have a saying, Pain is just weakness leaving the body. We also have people who voluntarily subject themselves to pain for pleasure. We call them masochists, and it's considered a perfectly normal variation of human behavior. The Kralix captain stood abruptly. I need to speak with my science officer. Sir. Science officer Zartek looked up from his console as Vextar stormed onto the secondary bridge. Run a full analysis on everything we know about human physiology. I want to know exactly what kind of death world produces these creatures. An hour later, Zartek's report left the entire command staff speechless. Sir, according to human biological data, their homeworld makes Kethmore look like a paradise garden. Their gravity is higher, their atmospheric composition is more corrosive, their temperature variations more extreme, and their biodiversity. He paused. Sir, they co-evolved with over 1 million different ways to die. Continue. They've survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, supervolcanic eruptions, and something they call Monday mornings. Their immune systems are so robust that they can consume organic matter that has been deliberately infected with bacteria. They call it fermented food and consider it a delicacy. What about their physical capabilities? Sir, the average human can survive in conditions that would kill most galactic species within minutes. They can function with blood loss that would incapacitate a Kralix warrior. Their bones can heal from complete breaks. They can regrow skin tissue. And their endurance. Zartek's voice trailed off. What about their endurance? Sir, they evolved as persistence hunters. They can literally run their prey to death over distances of dozens of miles. There are documented cases of humans continuing to function with severe injuries that should have caused immediate unconsciousness. Vextar sat down heavily. What have we encountered? Captain Vextar. Ambassador Chen's voice came through the communicator with what the Kralix were beginning to recognize as distinctly human patience. I believe a demonstration might be more effective than further discussion. What kind of demonstration? Vextar asked, his claws unconsciously extending as his predatory instincts prepared for potential deception. We've prepared a small exhibition of human capabilities. Nothing threatening, just some cultural activities we thought might interest you and your crew. 3 hours later, Vextar and his senior staff stood in the human ship's cargo bay, watching in stunned silence as a human female lifted a metal bar loaded with weights that outmassed her by a factor of 3. The ease with which she moved the massive load defied everything the Kralix understood about physics and biology. This is Rebecca Martinez, Chun explained with casual pride. She's 47 years old and works in our agricultural department. Weightlifting is her hobby. Something she does for personal enjoyment in her spare time. Rebecca set down the bar with a controlled motion that spoke of tremendous strength held in perfect check, then smiled at the towering aliens with the kind of warmth that made predators everywhere question their life choices. Want to try? She asked cheerfully, gesturing to the weights. Vextar approached the apparatus with the careful movements of an apex predator encountering something unexpected. Even with his enhanced Kralix physiology, muscles designed for combat, bones reinforced with natural armor plating, he could barely lift what the small human had been casually pressing above her head moments before. How is this possible? He demanded, his voice carrying a mixture of confusion and growing alarm. Humans are persistence hunters, remember? Chun replied. We evolved dense bone structure and extremely efficient muscle systems. Rebecca here isn't even particularly strong by human standards. I'm really more of a cardio person, Rebecca added helpfully, toweling off perspiration that the Kralix life support systems registered as containing trace amounts of toxins that would be harmful to most species. I usually run about 10 miles every morning before work to stay in shape. 10 miles, Zartek whispered, his mandibles clicking with disbelief. That's further than most Kralix can travel in a full day of forced march. Oh, that's just my morning jog, Rebecca laughed, the sound carrying an odd combination of genuine warmth and something that made every Kralix present remember that humans were supposedly apex predators. Last month, I did a century ride with my cycling club. A century ride? 100 miles on a bicycle. Took me about 6 hours. Beautiful day for it. Perfect weather for pushing yourself a little. Chun gestured to another area of the cargo bay where an elderly human male was hanging upside down from a horizontal bar. Perhaps you'd like to meet Marcus? He's demonstrating one of our recreational activities. Marcus was performing what Chun called pull-ups, while maintaining a cheerful conversation with a group of human children who were executing similar exercises with the casual ease of Kralix younglings at play. The kids are just warming up, Chin explained as the Kralix watched in growing horror. They'll be doing gymnastics later. Marcus is 73 years old. 73. Vextar stared at the silver-haired human who was now doing one-handed pull-ups. That's well past Kralix military retirement age. Oh, Marcus retired from active military service at 65, Chan said with the matter-of-fact tone of someone discussing the weather. He's a civilian now. He teaches children's fitness classes at our community center. One of the children, who couldn't have been more than 10 years old, performed a backflip that would have challenged Kralix special forces. Captain, Zartek whispered urgently, I'm reading their biometrics. Their heart rates are barely elevated. This isn't stressful exercise for them. This is casual activity. Chen overheard. Would you like to see some of our actual athletes? We have recordings of human Olympic competitions. The next hour was a revelation that fundamentally altered the Kralix understanding of physical possibility. They watched humans run faster than Kralix speeders, leap higher than their gravity should allow, and perform feats of coordination that seemed to defy physics. This swimming event, Vextar said slowly, this human is moving through water faster than most species can run on land. That's Katie Ledecky, Chun said proudly. She's considered one of our greatest distance swimmers. Distance swimming? She once swam for over 10 miles in open ocean. For fun. Vextar turned to his aide. Zekti, how far can the average Kralix swim? Sir, most Kralix cannot swim at all. Water that deep would kill us. Humans, Chun continued, are actually semi-aquatic. We're one of the few sapient species that evolved both terrestrial and aquatic capabilities. You're amphibious? Not exactly, but we're remarkably comfortable in water. We swim for recreation, we dive to extreme depths, and some humans spend their entire careers working underwater. The ocean on Kethmore is toxic, Vextar said faintly. Ours too, in many places. We swim in it anyway. Captain, Zekti approached with obvious reluctance. The humans have made a request. Vextar looked up from the reports that were systematically destroying everything he thought he knew about Deathworld evolution. What kind of request? They've asked if they can observe a traditional Kralix hunt. Ambassador Chun said it would help them understand our culture better. A hunt. Vextar's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Perhaps it's time these humans saw what real predators are capable of. Prepare the hunting grounds. The hunting preserve on Vextar's flagship was a carefully maintained ecosystem containing some of Kethmore's most dangerous fauna. As the Kralix hunting party prepared their ceremonial weapons and armor, Ambassador Chun and 2 other humans watched with genuine interest. Those are impressive specimens, Chen observed, studying the pack of 6 bone renders prowling in the distance. Each creature stood 8 feet tall, with razor-sharp claws and jaws designed to crush Kralix armor. What's your standard hunting protocol? We track them to their den, engage in close combat with traditional weapons, and take trophies, Vextar explained, checking his plasma rifle and ceremonial combat claws. It requires strength, cunning, and bravery. Many young Kralix die on their first hunt. Fascinating. On Earth, we have similar traditions. Chun gestured to her companions. This is Dr. James Park, our xenobiologist, and Sarah Running Bear, one of our cultural specialists. They're both experienced hunters. Vextar looked skeptically at the 2 humans. Dr. Park appeared to be in his 60s, with graying hair and the soft features of an academic. Sarah Running Bear was perhaps 30, small even by human standards, and carried no visible weapons. Where is their equipment? He asked. We prefer a more traditional approach, Sarah said with a smile that somehow made Vextar's predatory instincts twitch. May we observe your hunt first? The Kralix hunting party moved into the preserve with deadly efficiency. They were magnificent predators, 9 feet of muscle, armor, and natural weaponry moving through their element with practiced grace. The bone renders were worthy prey, each one a ton of muscle and teeth that had evolved specifically to kill Kralix. The battle was brutal and spectacular. Plasma bolts lit up the artificial jungle, claws clashed against fangs, and the roars of both predator and prey echoed through the preserve. When it ended, 3 bone renders lay dead, and 2 Kralix warriors nursed serious injuries. "Impressive," Dr. Park commented calmly. "Very direct approach. Quite effective." "Your turn," Vextar panted, his armor scorched and dented. "Though perhaps you should reconsider. These creatures would kill an unarmored human in seconds." Sarah Running Bear smiled and walked calmly into the preserve carrying no weapons, not even the primitive projectile weapons the humans had mentioned. Dr. Park followed with what appeared to be a simple recording device. "What is she doing?" Zekti whispered. On the monitors, they watched Sarah approach the remaining pack of 6 bone renders. The creatures noticed her immediately, a small, soft target with no natural defenses. They began stalking her with patient hunger. Then something extraordinary happened. Sarah stopped walking and stood perfectly still. The bone renders circled her, confused by prey that didn't flee. She began making soft sounds. Not quite words, not quite music. The creatures moved closer, their aggressive posturing gradually shifting to curiosity. "Is she communicating with them?" Vextar asked in disbelief. Within 20 minutes, Sarah had the entire pack following her like domesticated animals. She led them back to the observation area, where 6 of Kethmore's most feared predators sat calmly at her feet. "How?"
Vextar demanded.
"Every species has its own communication methods," Sarah replied, scratching behind the ears of a bone render that was now purring. "You just have to learn to listen." The Kralix command staff sat in stunned silence as Ambassador Chun presented her formal cultural briefing. The holographic displays showed images that challenged every assumption they had about Deathworld evolution. "These are human infants," Chen explained, showing images of small humans in various environments. "This child is 2 years old and learning to swim. This one is 3 and skiing down a mountain. Here's a 5-year-old rock climbing with his family." "You expose your young to mortal danger as training?" Vextar asked, his voice tight with disbelief. "We expose our young to managed risk as development," Chun corrected. "Humans learn by doing. We believe children should experience their world safely under expert supervision." Dr. Park advanced to the next display. "This might help explain human development. These are comparative physiological charts." The data was staggering. Human bone density was 3 times galactic standard. Their muscle efficiency was unprecedented. Their cardiovascular systems could function at performance levels that would kill most species. But more importantly, Dr. Park continued, humans are adaptable. We can survive in environments ranging from Arctic conditions to desert heat, from sea level to high altitude, from tropical humidity to arid wastelands. How is this possible? Hardin asked, still flexing his arm that had healed completely after Dr. Park's treatment. Earth is what we call a variable environment deathworld, Chun explained. Most deathworlds specialize, like Kethmore, which selected for armor and combat capabilities. Earth never specialized. Instead, it threw everything at us. Ice ages, volcanic periods, floods, droughts, predators, diseases, constant climate change. So you adapted to everything, Vextar said slowly, the implications dawning on him. We didn't just adapt. We conquered. Humans don't have an ecological niche, Captain. We make our own. Sarah Running Bear stepped forward. Captain, what's the human population of Earth? According to your data, approximately 8 billion. And how many different environments do we inhabit? Vextar consulted his datapad with growing dread. It appears, all of them? Correct. Humans live everywhere. Frozen wastelands, scorching deserts, tropical jungles, high mountains, underground caves, on the ocean, under the ocean, and in orbital habitats. We've spread to every possible environment and created new ones. The Kralix population of Kethmore is 2.3 billion, Vextar said quietly, and we inhabit only the temperate zones. The rest of our world is too dangerous. Captain, Dr. Park said gently, by human standards, the uninhabitable regions of Kethmore would be considered challenging but livable. We'd need basic equipment, but humans could establish permanent settlements in your polar regions, volcanic zones, even your acid storm areas. The bridge fell silent. There's something else, Chin continued. How do the Kralix handle existential threats? Asteroid impacts, supervolcanic eruptions, climate change. We've been fortunate. Kethmore is geologically stable. Earth isn't. We've survived multiple extinction events. Ice ages lasting thousands of years. Volcanic eruptions that blocked out the sun. Asteroid impacts that destroyed entire ecosystems. How? We adapted. We planned. We prepared. And when those weren't enough, Chun smiled with something that wasn't quite humor. We got stubborn. Sarah Running Bear laughed. Captain, humans have a saying, the only thing more dangerous than a smart human is a stubborn human. When the universe tries to kill us, we take it personally. But that's not the most important difference, Dr. Park added. Captain, how many species has Kralix civilization uplifted? Uplifted. Helped evolve, educated, brought into spacefaring civilization. None. Inferior species serve or are eliminated. Humans have uplifted 17 species so far, Chun said quietly. We've established positive relationships with 38 others. We've never eliminated a sapient species. Never. Never. We learned something important. The most dangerous predator isn't the one with the biggest claws. It's the one that can convince all the others to work together. 3 months later, the Galactic Council convened for the most significant session in its history. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the Great Chamber, all watching as Captain Vextar approached the speaker's podium with unprecedented humility. Fellow council members, he began, his voice carrying clearly through the translation matrix. I stand before you today to propose the most important amendment to our governing charter since the council's founding. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Kralix had ruled through strength for centuries. What could possibly motivate them to change? 3 months ago, we encountered a species that challenged everything we thought we knew about Deathworld evolution. Today, I invite Ambassador Sarah Chun of the Terran Federation to address this council. The gasps from the assembled delegates were audible as a small, seemingly fragile figure took the podium. Ambassador Chun stood barely half the height of most council members, with no visible natural weapons. Yet something in her presence commanded immediate respect. Honored delegates, Chun began. I come before you not as a conqueror, but as a potential partner. Humanity offers something the galaxy has never seen. A Deathworld species that chooses cooperation over domination. Impossible, shouted Delegate Mortex from the Zephyrian Empire. Deathworld species are predators by definition. Respectfully, that's where you're wrong, Chun replied calmly. Humanity learned that the strongest predator isn't the one that kills its prey. It's the one that doesn't need to. She gestured, and holographic displays showed human cities containing dozens of species living in harmony. We didn't conquer our world's ecosystems. We integrated with them. Captain Vextar approached the podium. Delegates, I have spent 3 months learning about human capabilities. I have watched a human female establish communication with creatures that have never been domesticated. I have seen human children perform feats that would challenge our elite warriors. I have witnessed human civilians display courage and competence that puts our military specialists to shame. Then they are dangerous, Delegate Mortex insisted. They should be contained. On the contrary, Vextar replied, they should be welcomed. In 3 months of cooperation, human advisors have helped us solve problems that have plagued the Kralix for generations. Their medical techniques have improved our healing rates by 400%. Their agricultural methods have increased our food production by 300%. Sarah Running Bear stepped forward. Delegates, Earth's ecosystem taught us that diversity creates stability. A forest with only one type of tree is vulnerable to disease. But a forest with hundreds of species can survive almost anything. The galaxy is our forest, Chun continued. Humanity doesn't want to rule it. We want to help it thrive. And if we refuse? Asked a delegate from the back. Chen's smile was warm but carried an undertone that made every predator species remember that humans were, after all, from a death world. Then we'll respect your decision and continue working with those who do want to cooperate. Humans don't force friendship. We simply make it advantageous. The vote was historic. 847 in favor, 312 against. For the first time, a Deathworld species was admitted as equals, not conquerors. As delegates filed out, Vextar approached Chin. Your species could dominate this galaxy through force. Why choose this path? Chin smiled. Captain, the strongest predator is the one that never has to prove it. We'd rather be feared for our friendship than hated for our conquest. And if that friendship is betrayed? Her smile never wavered, but something in her eyes reminded Vextar that humans had survived extinction events. We're very good at Plan B as well. Outside, the stars seemed brighter. Humanity had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same.